So I'm going to offer a slightly different take on where do we go from here than what John addressed a little bit, and then Sean's going to offer some more too. There is no historical context for what we have done to the planet. If we were to take one short day's march and instead climb that distance into the sky, we would be in the dark of the eternal glittering night in which our home world drifts, unmoored from any narrative of rescue except our own. In the deep ocean of a universe generally so close to absolute zero temperature that atoms nearly come to a standstill and change itself freezes, our planet burns. We have made the world an ark of our own intentionality and influence, and now that ship is sinking. We cannot even say for certain that complex life itself, that light of lights on earth, will not gutter and go out. We have tampered with plant and animal, soil, water, even the roll of eons on their course, as we burn 1 million years of carbon deposits each calendar year, and put that carbon into play in the thin shell of earth and air where life exists. And yet, just at the moment of action, just when we must summon all of the accumulated courage, wisdom, and compassion of our species and make the most selfless choices in 12,000 years, we seem unable to write the narrative of our salvation, let alone execute it. As if we were wrestling with a ghost writer come from our shadow selves, the story is distorted line by line, priorities exaggerated or propped up that might long ago have fallen down if we operated by common sense and large perspective. We forget that notions like monetary worth, debt, the whole economic system are inventions which can and must be abandoned when they clash with the inarguable foundations of life on earth. Most of the time, we humans are not speaking the absolute truth about our burning planet, but rather a bizarre mix of economic and environmental and social justice jargon about the kind of future we want. Ourselves and our alleged ideological opponents just use different varieties of jargon to refer to the same empty illusion. Sometimes you wake up and you realize that your beloved has a drinking problem, or is a secret meth addict, or has some other compulsion governing their behavior from the wings of the subconscious. In AA circles, it is often said that the bystanders and witnesses to a raging addiction must allow the addict to hit bottom, to come up hard and final against the singular question of whether to live or die. In our case, we cannot allow civilization to hit bottom in its own estimation, because the damage is already too great and irreversible, and we are firmly on the path to death. What is needed is an extraordinary intervention that compels the many into new territory of the heart and mind, and might just give us a chance to follow our own new music off this ruinous slope and out of the gates of hell. What are the themes of this intervention? For one, we will synchronize ourselves with the truth that we have the only and every resource within us to confront our spectacular emergency. Two, we see that we live in a universe of synergy. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts, and that it is immensely more powerful to belong than to possess. In this late date of our society, we have a demented and weakened idea of belonging. To belong is to fit in. To fit into too small a space for one's full being, to make the cut competitively and corporately by being processed for obedience, efficiency, and uniform thought and opinion. But actually belonging involves feeling the generations, the centuries, the millennia, the eons of liquid versatility that has been stored in us, born of our inseparable participation in the net of cause and effect on a planet so subtle and sensitive that every impact is significant. Every little thing matters. Belonging means we can create strong community which encourages its members to step beyond our comfort zone of the familiar patterns that defeat us and find ways to survive with the tools that we have neglected for too long. Cooperation, deep, radical, challenging, transforming generosity, compassion that resonates through society like the tolling of a bell. Right now, though, we need the third theme of this intervention to lead the countercharge against our annihilation. When we sacrifice ourselves, we will find our salvation. Sacrifice is also not what we make it mean in our culture. Sacrifice is not ultimately about loss. Sacrifice begins with the alchemy of emptying oneself of the limited idea of self and becomes the transformation of the lesser into something greater. Step by step, these marchers have imprinted this truth upon their bodies, minds, and hearts. We have given up our old lives forever, and we can't detain that light which has been kindled in us at this hour, that dangerous light within that will bring swift ruin to the fog of indifference and willful ignorance, which is even now wrapping us in the final chapters of our extinction. In this intervention, we must utilize our full capacity for sacrifice and letting go. Go into the full current of belonging to this world of significance and of change and find our creative spark there. We need to turn over the very board of the game we've given ourselves to play. We need to find action so potent in its message and its symbol that jaws drop, stillness enters the soul, the eyes close in remembrance of forgotten relationships, and the true alternative to sorrow and devastation beckons us there like a siren that cannot be ignored. We need to find action so comprehensive in its strategy that it leads inexorably to the checkmate of the status quo. We need action that begins with local and cellular organization, but quickly transcends scale to apply its leverage on the wild casino of global capitalism, where our own corporate neighbors sell poisons we would not wish on our own families and command the poor people of the world to use it as fuel and make stuff for us with it. It is not here, but on the other side of the world, where it will be decided whether our human narrative is the epitaph of the natural world for hundreds of thousands of years. And that decision is upon us now, in this present moment we happen to share. You all know there is little time before the last window on our alternative story of a future that favors life slams shut forever. You have seen the coal trains. You have seen the pipelines. You have seen the mainline catheter where our culture will take its last hit straight to the heart and snuff out. How can we do other than intervene with every wild resource of our dreams available to us?